Hey, gorgeous! Happy Tuesday. It's Bex here with another Tune Up Tuesday where I'm here to support you in tuning your heart to the frequency of love. And today I am super thrilled to be chatting with you about this really interesting notion, this concept that I hear from women in my community all the time, which is I'm looking for the man where I can soften and relax into him. I'm looking for my soft place to land. I'm looking for the man that I can release and relax into. And there's so much about this that is really common, and and the themes behind this are like security and like wanting the masculine man to be in our life so that we can turn off our own masculine energy and be in our feminine and really like just be in that yummy, juicy place because we are protected and we are taken care of and we feel secure and safe. So I totally hear you. And it's kind of an interesting double concept here because, when we're looking to soften and relax and surrender and flow into a relationship with a strong masculine man, hey out there, thanks for joining. What we're really talking about is trust. We're talking about trust. We're talking about being in flow and not being in control. And we're also talking about play, which play for me means a whole bunch of different things. But so when we're talking about wanting to relax and surrender and like have that soft place to land, there's an element of trust there's an element of trust that's keeping us from doing so. Perhaps we've been burnt in the past, or perhaps, we've been on this string of just less than extraordinary dates and nothing of quality is coming your way. And so your walls are really high and you're not feeling like you can actually trust any of the men that you're going out with. So what's really interesting about this is that the real problem when we show up with that wall of like, you've got to prove yourself to me before I can relax and surrender, before I can really like let go and feel protected and feel safe, is that men can sniff that out from like 10,000 miles away. Like they know when a woman's walls are up really high and they know when a woman is protecting her heart. And the truth is that men are looking to women to be a soft place to land. Because when we think about it, men and women both have masculine energy. That's the truth, right? But men live in that masculine energy far more than women do. Now, of course, women have been programmed and conditioned by society and the patriarchy to be in our masculine, to succeed and progress and do and accomplish. And of course, at the same time, we can very naturally and easily shift into our feminine. Men, on the other hand, are programmed from day one to be in that masculine, and that's also in their biology. So they are biologically driven to do and succeed and achieve and perform. And on top of that, they have all of society's pressures, and on top of that, they have all of like the repercussions for when they don't show up that way. Like, think about it, like man up, or boys don't cry, or like all these messages that men have been given in their life to be a man, right? And so when men are looking for life partnership, they're looking to their women to be that same soft place to land that we women are talking about, right? Except for men, they're really looking for the women who really are that soft place to land, that are emotionally available, receptive, and reciprocal, so that men can have their own safe place to have their emotional experience. Because out there in the world, in their career, in their other relationships, that just isn't as safe for them as safe for women. Because you know us, when we get together with another group of women that we feel good with, it's very easy for us to open up. It's very easy for us to share our emotions, share our experience, and really feel seen and heard by other women. Men don't have this with other men. Now, I'm speaking very generally. There are many men that do have this, and bless their souls, because those are the conscious men, the conscious connected men that we want in our lives, the men who can feel safe and share their emotions and share their experience with other men. But when we're talking about life partnerships, men want to feel that with us. They want to feel safe, and they want to feel safe to be vulnerable, safe to feel and communicate their emotions, safe and vulnerable to communicate their challenges, their experiences that they may not have any other outlet to do so. So when we women then show up with this wall around our heart, this protective layer, and this need for him to prove himself to us, so that therefore then we can trust, and then we can pull our walls down, and then we can have our own soft place. Then I can unwind. Then I can relax. Men are very privy to that. Men are really keen to that, and they're going to sense that you're not that safe place for them to open up, for them to land, for them to unpack, and they're going to move on until he finds the one where he does feel safe to do that. So, what are we to do? What are we feisty, feminine, strong in our masculine, feminine women to do? Well, I've given it away because I'm not looking at my notes. But it's to be able to shift into our feminine, to be able to shift into the feminine grace, the feminine power, our own soft place before we ever meet him. All right, so what does that look like? That is, now I'm looking at my notes. Okay, so we need to learn to soften and relax ourselves so that we can effectively communicate through words, or just simply through our actions, that there's a safe place for him in our heart. All right, so again, going about how we do that as women, how do we connect with our feminine energy? How do we shift out of our doing masculine and that protective layer, that trust barrier? Well, first and foremost, we get to learn how to trust ourselves. And one of the first steps in doing that is connecting with our own intuition, really getting super connected with that still small voice that is our true north, our GPS system that I believe never leads us astray. Now, it's easy to confuse the voice of fear with the voice of your intuition. So if you're not skilled up on that, perhaps you might investigate ways of doing that. You might contact me. We might talk about how we might do that together, how I might support you in doing that. Because that is one of the foundations of all the work that I do with all of the clients that I have, whether they be a one-day deep dive or an intensive VIP private coaching experience or a year-long group coaching experience with a community. Every single one of those clients, every single one of those experiences begins with getting in touch, building a relationship with our own intuition. Okay? And then off of that, then the next step there is to really pay attention, to listen to her and to trust her. And I personify her because she's an aspect of us. Just as much as our ego is, or our fear is an aspect of us, so is our intuition. And I really, truly believe that intuitive voice is, like I said before, our guidance system, our GPS, our true north, she who never leads us astray. So when we build that trust between consciousness and intuition, then we're starting to be able to relax a little bit, because in building that self-trust, you're there building safety, you're building security, you're building a reinforcement of your own decision-making process. And, and again, if you've been burnt in love and relationships in the past, this might be a longer road for you. This might be a heavier practice that you take on. Because it's not simply a once and done, which most of this work is not. But it's like building a muscle, and we don't go to the gym expecting to walk out like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, we wouldn't want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger anyway, but you get my point. We don't walk into the gym and walk out after one session expecting to have the body of our dreams, of our vision. It's this practice is a muscle that we must build. So connecting with your intuition, learning to listen to her and trust, building that self-trust of your own decision-making process. And then these last two pieces, I think, are just the cherries on top, all right? Because, when we're really talking about being in feminine energy and being that soft place for men to land, there's an element of releasing control and being in flow. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, we're so programmed, we're so conditioned to effort, to control, to outline and organize and do all of these things. But when it comes to relationships and what men are attracted to in women is their sense of flow. And that doesn't mean that you can't be in control. That doesn't mean that you can't be doing for yourself in other areas of your life. That's totally fine. And of course, in your love relationships too. What I mean by being in flow with yourself, with life, is this shift, this understanding that life is happening for you. Life is not happening to you, but life is a gift. Life is a blessing. And the more that we can view life through those lenses, and I usually sometimes have my sunglasses to like take on and take off, put on new lenses that life is happening for you, then we can start to see the gifts and the blessings and the lessons that are being presented to us every single day of our life. That's part of what I mean by being in flow. Now, the other part of being in flow is a bit of being in surrender, which means being in acceptance, and again, I need to make the distinction that it's not backing down and it's not like submitting to, the things that you don't agree with or align with, but it's really being in acceptance and surrender to the things that we don't have control over. Like, for example, like if you, were on a date that you really liked the guy and you moved it forward as far as you could and there was nothing really being reciprocated, being in acceptance is not over dramatizing and pushing this guy and sending him 50 texts a day and trying to get him, but it's this release of that control and the acceptance that, okay, this isn't my guy. And if we're looking through life in the lens of life is happening for me, then what are the gifts and blessings that I've received from this experience? And how can I be in flow? How can I be in acceptance that this isn't my guy? Right? And again, I know so much of what I'm telling you is so much easier said than done. So if you are looking for support in actually embodying these practices, then I'll drop a link in the comment section below, and you and I can have a chat about what working together would look like. Okay, I'm gonna take a second to check in with the comments here. Lori says, "So true. I'm so happy that you're feeling resonance with this." And I'm gonna butcher your name, girl. I'm sorry. I know you come to my Facebook Lives all the time, but it's Kalai. I'm gonna say Kalai. But yeah, you're in agreement with surrender. Yeah, and it's so much easier said than done. But there is that element of flow, that surrender, that being at peace with what is, that is so inherently feminine nature, and one of the things that men just really, really gravitate towards. I remember way back in the early days of when Nick and I were dating, this was back when he rode a motorcycle, and I thought that was the coolest thing. And we got on the bike and we rode from like New York to New Jersey to like tool around. And then we were on our way back, and it was kind of late at night. We're outside of the tunnel, and there was, when we're in the line to pay the toll, and there was a woman in a car really close next to us, and she came really, really close to him, almost ran over his foot, and he had a reaction, and it was a protective reaction towards me, but also like an anger reaction, like a little bit of road rage was in there. Again, this was really, really on when he was way more reactive than he is now, because we've both done a lot of work. Okay. But I just remember that moment, and I remember feeling him tense up. I'm on the bike behind him, feeling him tense up, feeling his energy not up. And literally and for me, there was this acceptance of what is. Like, there's nothing that I can really do about this car being really close to us, but what I can do is bring him back to the connection that we have. So I put my hand on his shoulder and I whispered in his ear, and I said, "Hey, just come back to me for a moment. Just be with me right now." And he took a deep breath, and I could feel the tension melt away, and I could feel, and he to this day goes back to that moment in time and points that out as one of the moments that it really solidified in him that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me. So I'm giving you that as an example of one way that we can be in flow and surrender and acceptance for the man in front of us, whether that be a date, a relationship, or even just like an online profile interaction. Okay, there's lots of ways that you can apply this. All right, so yay, thanks guys, thanks Lori. And Debbie says, I need it. Yes, the flow, the surrender, absolutely. And then this other piece that I've got down here is play, which I find that, I don't know, I just don't think it comes up often enough when we're talking about love attraction. And the more I do this work, the more I recognize that this is such an integral piece to feminine energy, to what we offer men when we are wanting to create that safe, loving space for them, when we're wanting to communicate that there's room in our heart for him. Play is one of our, like, I don't know, magical ingredients as women. And this, there's so many interpretations of this. One of the things that I love to do for my own self, and this is just outside of my relationship, is playing with spirit. All right, spirit, the divine, God, the universe, magic, and being in play with it, meaning like being awake and aware to the signs and symbols around me. My man and I had this really deep conversation last night about signs and symbols from the universe. But being in play with that, first of all, you have to be awake and aware. You have to be alive, awake and alive to the messages that are coming your way. All right, so that's kind of precursory to play. But then when they do come, it's this honoring, this recognition, this receiving, and this play. Like, how could it possibly get any better than this? Or I see you and I raise you this. Or like, oh, I get it. I've asked for this and now you're sending me this. Like, for example, one of the women that I work with, her recent play with the universe was, she had made a request. She had just put out there that she really wanted to shorten the time between engaging with somebody on her online dating profile and actually meeting up. Because she was experiencing these long, drawn out, like, blah, 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 back and forth that weren't going anywhere. And then when they finally met up, it was kind of like, wah, wah, just suck all the wind out of it, right? So she put this out there. She was like, and one of the questions that I work with play all the time is, what would you really love? And she said, what I would really love is to shorten that time frame. And then sure enough, just like days later, she had an invitation for a coffee date on a Saturday and they met up on a Sunday. And that happened again and again and again. And I think that there were several reinforcements of this request. So then when we get several reinforcements of it, then it starts to be like, okay, I see what's going on here. What else could I ask for? What would I really love? And the key when you're just starting out with this is to play it cute, like play it small. Like, you're not saying like, okay, how does it get any better than this? I'm ready for my millionaire man. Boom! Like, it's too big of a jump, right? So when we're playing with it, we're playing with, for this client of mine, her next jump might be, how does it get any better than this? What I would really love is to not only shorten the distance between the interaction and the first meetup, but then a second meetup. I would really love the men that I really click with to be so aligned and so present and so taken and interested and curious that they invite me out again. Okay, so that's another example of play, how we can play with spirit, play with the divine, and play with the gifts, the signs and symbols that are happening in our life. Okay, so again, if you, my dear, are looking for that soft place to land, that masculine man to come into your life and help you feel the safety, the security to unlock and unwind and relax and soften into his comfort, into his arms, into his care, sister, you gotta create it first. You get to be the source of that softness, that security, that safe place to land. And to do that, we are looking at connecting with your own intuition, building and developing a relationship with her, trusting that voice, really, really diving into self-trust, and then flowing with life, being in feminine energy, in acceptance, surrender, as well as play and playing with spirit. Not only playing with the signs and symbols, but playing with spirit, God, the divine. I just think that spirit is our greatest ally, and that the more connected, the more we play with spirit, the more spirit will play with us. All right, so I hope you found this helpful today. And if you are looking for some support in any of these areas, if you feel blocked, if you feel like you have no idea what developing a relationship with your intuition is, or trusting yourself is like, or if you feel like you have no idea how to access your feminine energy, these are exactly the tools and techniques that I teach the women that I work with in coaching relationships. And if that is of interest to you, if you are ready to get to the bottom of what's happening or not happening in your love life, and you're just so ready to take action, then I want to have a conversation with you. I will make sure to drop a link in the comments section below, and I would love nothing more than to support you either in this exploratory strategy session or in a long-term coaching relationship, because what is available to you on the other side, this freedom, this surrender, this flow, this play practice, is so wildly attractive to masculine men, the type of men that are going to come in and want to protect and serve and, be there for you, be that masculine energy that you can soften, unwind, and relax into. Okay? So I love you so much, and I will see you again next Tuesday for another Tune Up Tuesday. Mwah! All right. All the best in love to you.